This is Hi, My Name is Mom, a podcast about motherhood. Here are your hosts, Jen, Corey, and Kayla.
We don't do this a lot anymore. We used to do this all the time to each other.
Yeah,
is go, I'm not telling you anything till I turn on the mic.
Oh,
and Kayla actually did it with the, well, she might have told us. Shh. But now Jen has the same thing, and we don't know what you wanted to tell us, but you said that you wanted to tell us about your day.
yeah, you wouldn't tell me. Jen was my ride.
I was with you, like most of the morning.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
By most of the morning, she means like an hour and a half in the middle of at lunchtime.
Yeah. Me and Corey and Brittany took the girls to the zoo, just to the park for like an hour and a half. And Corey and I are sitting there. And I was like, yeah, it's a bummer that
why are you
Kayla
lumping
could.
me into
No,
this?
I'm saying this. I said, yeah, it's a bummer that Kayla's at Olive and Art. And then I went, wait, what day is today?
Nope.
Corey's like, Wednesday? Because I'm used to recording on Mondays. My whole brain was like,
Y'all just didn't invite me.
we didn't invite
Yeah, we
you.
just
And we
left
totally
you out.
thought you were like, it was my fault. I
Okay,
totally
before-
fell on the sword for that.
But before you
Yes.
tell us about this, though, let's do our business.
Oh, okay. Yes, boss.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I'm being a jerk today.
I don't know. Go like follow us on the things.
Follow us on the things.
You know, like chat with us
YouTube.
online.
Hi, my name is
YouTube,
Just
Facebook.
Google, hi, my name is Mom, and just go to all the places.
Google us.
Should we just turn it into that?
Let's just turn it into
Facebook,
just like
Instagram. Hi, my name is Mom Official.
You can
YouTube.com.
Google
Hi, my name
me.
is Mom.
you can Google me. If you want to find me, Google me. I'm everywhere.
Wow. Wow. She goes away for like 4 weeks. She comes back with like,
back on
her head
fire.
is like, she's listening to all our content going, they really
If
need my
you want to
voice.
like me, you can find me yourself.
You can find me yourself. You know my name.
I'm dead. Oh my god.
That's
my
Kayla
gosh,
Kenny.
I'm crying, guys.
I was saying that as us.
Oh,
I'm not that self-involved. Kayla Kinney is in Hi, My Name is Mom.
so cute. Oh, my God.
I'm kidding. Okay.
Okay, so what happened?
Anyway, Corey and I were together all morning.
okay, maybe I know what happened.
No,
Do I
you
know?
don't.
Oh.
So I am having the most productive day. It's a great day. I did all these things, right? Started the day with like all my chores getting done. I had some of my neighborhood friends over for mahjong, which is like, the old, it's like the Asian tile game. It's amazing.
I
right?
love
You
that-
have to be like 80
You
to play
played
mahjong.
a game in the middle of the day.
Well, I
No,
was just
I
gonna
played
say-
a game at 7:45 a.m. until 9:30.
My mind is blown.
Right.
I
Okay.
love, you were such like a 1950s housewife in that sense. Like,
Sometimes.
let's get together and play
Sometimes.
bridge. Like,
Yes.
let's like,
Mahjong.
Bridge,
play
mahjong. Yeah. So that was my morning. And then I did a bunch of, stuff to get ready to go to the zoo, got to the zoo, went to 2 different fast food places after the zoo, mind you, because Evie wanted Chick-fil-A and I wanted chicken salad chick. And we weren't negotiating. And I get home and I'm like, I got Dad or Alive stuff I got to do. I had just a couple little like admin things I had to get done. And holy hell, Charlie walks in the door and he's like, you could tell he's like close to tears. He's like, I need to talk to you right now. He's so upset. So upset. And we've been through a lot with Charlie recently that we talked about. We haven't talked about it on the podcast yet, which we'll touch on it, I think, in an upcoming episode. But he says to me, and this is a big principle thing. So he says that he and a couple of boys were with a group of students coming back from art class, and they were talking in the hallway. And he says that they weren't being unruly, but then they got somewhere and the art teacher said to his teacher, these 3 boys were talking. And so she, without asking the boys if they were talking, because Charlie was like, I actually wasn't talking. When she got to them, she looked at them and said, you're going to have lunch detention today for talking in the hallway. Now, not only was it like lunch detention, which to me, if you have kids who need to be stimulated, they need to be able to talk. And lunch and recess are the 2 places they have the freedom to do that. But in addition to that, their class had won a pizza party, not a school pizza party, an outside pizza service coming in. And they were eating lunch outside as a picnic table. And she gave these boys lunch detention on their special day that they earned this party.
For talking?
for talking. I lost my ish, and I don't usually lose it. And I also don't usually talk about my children's teachers while they're in class with them.
Yeah.
But I'm so angry. I emailed her and I just emphatically said, this is not like a request. It was like, in no way, shape, or form are you ever to use recess or lunch as a punishment for my kid. Give him 100 multiplication problems, make him write his name 100 times, teach him handwriting. But you're not going to take away those two things that he needs to be able to get some energy out during the day. And I was like, this is 1 week after we got a pretty serious diagnosis for Charlie that we've been dealing with the school on, and we've had like open lines of
And the
communication.
teacher's obviously aware.
And she is very aware. I emailed her myself.
yeah.
So I am like at a point where I feel I'm so angry because I'm like, what are these moms? We talk about this a lot. There are moms who feel like they have no voice. There are moms who feel like they hear something from their kid's school and they just have to take it at face value. But I am so tired of this kind of punishment for kids. It's what world do we live in where taking recess away makes
Which they
kids calm
barely
down?
have anyway.
Right. It's like 20, 30 minutes.
Like I remember realizing that I think they get 2 15-minute recesses.
Yeah.
Like that's what's built in. Do you know I had a teacher in 3rd grade.
Mhm.
I feel like it's been so long I could name
But you can
her,
still
right?
remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. And she picked on me.
Yeah. I
Like,
had that.
my mom ended up having to go advocate for me because like there was just no reason for me. I think she didn't like me because I had this teacher who was just a dream the
Oh.
year before in 2nd grade. To this day we keep in touch
Yep.
on Facebook.
I have teachers like that.
Oh my
I
gosh.
love it.
And
I do too.
I was I guess you would call like a little bit of a teacher's pet. Like we were just super close.
Yeah.
She was just everything you could want in a 2nd grade teacher.
Oh.
And then 3rd grade, I mean, it was like I couldn't do anything without getting in trouble, and I was so sensitive to it. I was
Yeah.
like Radley is now, really.
Yeah.
I would cry if I
Mhm.
didn't please my teachers. And this teacher would go so far as to like, I had this 3rd grade teacher and then one dance teacher who didn't like it that I was like a happy kid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she wanted me to be like,
Upset.
yeah. And she'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, that smile on your face. You kind of expect that in a ballet company,
Yeah.
perhaps, right? But this teacher, like I was even really good friends with this girl who English was a 2nd language, and I would teach her a lot of new words. And so she had picked up something derogatory that she said to the teacher, and the teacher punished me. I didn't teach her that. Of course I didn't. But there were things like that that just didn't make
It
any
really is
sense.
frustrating.
And it was like I felt like my teacher bullied me.
Well, Charlie got punished for something he didn't do, and he told the same teacher emphatically, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then later in the day, a little girl came forward and said, I did that. I wrote
No
that. Yep.
way.
And Charlie
Wow.
told me there was no apology.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
So-
And so there are things like that that make me just like,
That's very frustrating.
I think the apology on. Oh, okay. I'm going to take a step back because I feel like when I got bullied by a few teachers in high school, and I feel very strongly, and I'll share that. But I think teachers and educators sometimes feel like their hands are tied, and in the sense of like, what can I do? I'm trying to fix a problem, and I'm playing devil's advocate.
yeah, play devil's
not-
advocate.
for sure.
So, thinking about a teacher trying to wrangle a classroom and
Mhm.
everything, there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. You guys are all in trouble.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, and having grace for that moment, was there any like conversation or discourse before
No.
you responded to her, or were you just like fired?
Oh no, there was this is the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks
that she's singled
that
him
she's
out?
either singled him out for lunch detention or something. And to be fair, I
Do
was
you
at
think
the school
there's-
the last time and I was like, I'm checking him out. He's not having lunch detention. He's having lunch with my parents. I was so irritated.
I will say that, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, is there any part of you, and I just playing devil's advocate,
Yes.
that you think that there's any issues that you might need to chat with Charlie about? Like, does
Charlie
he hold
has
any
lots
fault?
of issues and he
Well,
holds lots of fault. And
No, I
I've
just
had
meant in these specific instances.
he shouldn't talk, but to me the punishment has to fit the crime. Period.
Okay.
So
that
there is
makes sense.
no
Yeah.
there is absolutely no way that I would be like, you talked and there was no other
Yeah.
punishment other than lunch detention?
So what grade is Charlie in?
5th.
So what's crazy is when I was in 5th grade, we had like this was silly, but we had like the apple charts, you know,
Oh,
or like
yeah.
the trees, like where
Something.
like you got your star taken down and then
Yep.
it got moved into a different basket. And
Yep.
then if it got into this basket, then
Clip
you
charts, gold coins, any number of things
yeah,
that people
that
use.
you had like certain warnings. So do you think that just in general, you should advocate for change on disciplinary actions?
So
Because
I already did that once.
I agree with like, I don't think recess and lunch should ever be taken away from a kid.
Yeah, no.
I would agree with that. But like, I think sometimes teachers feel like their hands might be a little
I don't think that's the
tied.
case at this school.
And
Every teacher
well-
has a different positive reinforcement. Every teacher
Okay.
has a different discipline. And I did, when we first started at the school, Mason got lunch detention for being tardy 5 times. And he wasn't tardy. It was like an orthodontist appointment. He was sick one day. It's like 5
So
And-
your
and-
kid was getting punished for you.
for me. And I flipped out and they changed it at our school. To be fair, they changed the policy because it isn't, if my child is driving themselves to high school, going by the grocery store, going to Starbucks, grabbing a Planet smoothie, you bet your ass you can ding them for being tardy.
Yeah.
They're tardy. But my kindergartner is not going to get lunch detention for having an unexcused absence.
that's
I will
ridiculous.
throw you
Yeah.
down over that. Like, it's not going to happen. And
That's
thank
so
God
funny.
the assistant principal was like, I totally get it. Like, that makes sense. We're going to try a new policy. And granted, it was a county policy, but they approached the county and were like, this is what we're going to do. And I think for most of the time, like, it works. But the joke is, like, kindergartner, our principal is so awesome that I think most of the time the kindergartners think they're cool. Because
No,
they're getting to
I-
have lunch with the principal.
I mean,
It's not
I don't have
it's not
a
punishment.
child in school, and so I'm trying to like play the other side just to
There is
have,
no
like,
side here. I know there's
Okay.
not. Like, I get it.
Okay.
I get what you're saying because every teacher has 25, 30 students to wrangle, right?
Right.
And they have to be able to wrangle them. I think that there are teachers, and I've now come across 2, and my kids have been in school a cumulative, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 years, like cumulatively.
Yeah.
And I've come across 2 that I feel like I've had issues with. And my issues are because I feel like they pick on a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always like that, but there are teachers that just, they don't get along with certain personalities.
Yeah.
And I would have hoped that all of the diagnostics that we had done on Charlie recently that I sent to her, I would have hoped that she would have a little bit of kindness and empathy for what
Yeah.
he was going through. And instead of making him feel worse, start just approaching him a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And that's what really bugs me. And listen, they're going to be in 6th grade next year. It is a different ball game, but there is also something about nonstop preparing to prepare.
right.
And when they are preparing to prepare for 6th grade, all of 5th grade, it's like, let them be 5th graders.
yeah.
They're still 5th graders, mentally, developmentally, all of it. And I don't know. I feel like there's a million things that she could have done in that moment to make those kids think more.
Have a check. Well,
Like, even old school, you have to write these like words
yeah.
100
I
times.
will say I'm personally not a fan of Big Little Feelings.
Yeah.
Like on Instagram. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I like stuff they're saying, but like just personally, like I'm not always a fan. But
Yeah.
they always will say, like, if you're an adult, I do like how they break things down. Like
Yeah.
they're like, if you're an adult, let's say this is how the situation play out. Now put that in your kids' world because whatever's happening in your adult world is just as big.
Yeah.
Like whatever they're happening. If a toy gets taken away, that's gonna be just
Yep.
as big as like your car getting crashed or
Yep.
like whatever. Like that and I do think that teachers maybe need to sometimes like put themselves in the like it's a really big world for the kids getting
Yeah.
in trouble and getting lunch taken away.
Mhm.
It's that's something so
Those
easy.
are core memories.
Yes, but that's something that's so easy in an authoritative position. I can just take that away. You're not
Yep.
listening. I'm just going to take that away.
Yep.
Without breaking it down and like having a process. Hey, you're going to get this take. Even if that punishment is going to stay the same, you have 3 warnings before you get to that punishment, or
Mhm.
some type of like
Yep.
something
Sometimes
to
it
prepare
feels
the kids to
arbitrary.
have a check.
I
you know?
agree. Sometimes it feels arbitrary. And there's all those like class dojo. I mean, there's a million reward. There's a million everything. I say that right all the time. But there's a ton of those. There's a million reward apps.
Let's
Like,
count them all
there's
right now.
one, two, there's at least 3 that I can think off the top of my head. That's
Which
a
is
million.
close to a million.
Very close.
to a million.
No, so there's all like reward. There's all kinds of things, and I
Very
get
huge, very big number.
very huge numbers. I get those dings every day. Like so and so has a point. So and so did well. I love that. But it's just I don't know. I have an issue, and this is not even about my kid as much as it is about all kids.
Yeah,
We have to stop taking away their time to be physically free.
yeah.
It just keeps happening, and I've seen it so much.
Well, even like you were saying that you got picked on by a teacher. I got picked on really bad by a teacher when I was in high school. It was my chemistry teacher. Like she was awful to me. She was mean to me. It was the only class in my entire life that I've gotten a C in, and that was devastating for me. I actually, after seeing the movie Patch Adams, I wanted to be a doctor for like quite a bit of my high school. I was like, do I want to go in entertainment? Because I wanted to help people like so bad. And me like hating chemistry so much is what I was just like, nope, there's no way I'm going into this field. But my mom had to have a talk with her, and she was like, what is going on? Like, why are you doing this, Kayla? What, like, she has a 4.0 GPA. Like, what is going on? Because she's,
Yeah.
you know, there was a time that I was failing that class, and she's like, this isn't, and I was going home so upset. And the teacher looked at my mom and she goes, well, Kayla's just so, and my mom goes, Kayla, so what? And she goes, oh, never mind. And she's like, so what? And she's like, she's just so easy. And she was meaning that like I'm easy to pick on. And like my mom got like really because this teacher would do things like she would take like, oh, this is why I failed chemistry. The little like glass like
Beaker.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm like, what is that called?
What is this? She wouldn't know.
And she would like, if it would be water, she would just like toss the water on me. Like, and it wasn't in this funny sense. Like, she just picked on me.
Yeah.
And so like my mom had to have a chat with her, and it never stopped. Like I ended up like getting by with a C in that class, and like I just never took one of her classes again. And it really deterred me
What
away.
grade was that?
It was my junior year of high school, which
That's
was like a
awful.
huge year
That
right
is a
before
big year.
college and
College,
everything. And
for
so it was
sure.
really hard. And then my other teacher that picked on me, he looked at me and he told me he was also my track coach, and he said you would shave off about 3 seconds if you lost about 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And this is in high school. And like I remember my mom came to him, and he would, now as an adult looking back, I can see he was just probably just like a John. Thank God my husband's not a teacher. Making a comment, joking, and then like because he's like, Kaylon, he came and like apologized like after my mom talked to him.
Yeah.
So I think that like I don't know, teaching is such a delicate thing that if you don't have the temperament to treat every kid as like an equal, like it's probably not the profession you're supposed to be in.
It does have to be difficult. I mean,
It
and
does
it sounds
have to be.
very similar. My third grade thing was very similar to yours. We're like I don't think
This teacher just didn't like me.
I don't think
I
I'm
had
ever
one of
gonna
those.
be until college. Like
Yeah.
I was a very good student. I was
Yeah.
a total goody two shoes.
Mm.
I was and still have that part of me that's a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And that was really the only time in my whole school career that my mom had to step in
Yeah.
Yep.
and go, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't come off like we are in any way bashing teachers. I think there is
Yeah.
no more important job, and in some ways no more thankless job at times.
Oh, I think
Yep.
I think they're so underpaid.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so thankless.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I do think there are teachers that have checked out, and it's sort of like there
Yeah.
are bad teachers.
There are
I mean,
both
there
ends.
are.
There are teachers who are
most
like-
teachers are amazing.
Yeah.
But there are
Yeah.
teachers who are just done, and they just don't. And I'm not saying that's the case with this teacher, but there are teachers that are just they're done.
And that's kind of the case with every profession
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just that, it's our job as moms to balance enabling
Yep.
yeah.
versus stepping in to advocate for our kids when
Yep.
it's time. I mean, I feel like with my kids' teachers, we've been so lucky to just have awesome teachers. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
the most that we've encountered is what you were talking about, Kayla, where it's like everyone gets in trouble because a few kids were acting up.
Yeah.
And Radley does not handle that well, but he
Mm-mm.
needs to experience it.
Yeah.
I dealt with that as a kid. My mom would be punishing my sister and I if something happened. And it's like sometimes you just have to know, well, hey, like
You do get to a point
everyone's-
where it's like the village, you have to
Yeah.
rally. But then there are always rowdy kids who are
Yeah.
always, always,
Instigating.
always, always, always instigating and in trouble.
And we've talked about how like it's so nice to see a mom who's like, oh yeah, my kid, that's the one causing trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Versus going like, no, my kid would no, and because
Well,
you're not
that's
helping
why
your
I
kid
play
by
devil's
doing that.
advocate. I'm
No,
like,
I'm the first to say my child gets in trouble daily with
Well,
me.
we hear
I-
it.
And I am
we
his
know.
yes, I
We
am
know.
his
Well,
biggest critic.
yeah.
But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm okay with other people giving out punishments that are too harsh for things that he does.
yeah,
I feel like it is a teacher's job to balance a punishment with a crime.
yeah.
And that's why we have we have county guidelines for discipline, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean like little things, but I mean big things. And that's
Yeah.
why those exist. And the principals have very little leeway. I mean, we experienced that with Ava. They have very little leeway when something happens. And so I don't know. I'm really done with the silent lunches. I remember we talked to Amy Kennedy about this once. It was like silent lunches. She was done with it. She's like, my kids aren't doing silent lunches anymore.
Y'all are just making me gonna homeschool even more.
Yeah, I mean, or you have to advocate for your kids because what you guys are talking about, I had a second grade teacher, Miss Kathy Brown at Annistown Elementary School. She was a horrendous wench. And she has affected me to this day. To this day. And to be fair,
I did not see that coming.
Oh.
to be fair, my mom went to bat. She went to the principal. She's like, we want to get her teacher changed. This is not good. It's affecting our child so much. And the principal said no. And my mom said, that is where I learned a lesson in parenting. And she's like, it is my biggest regret that I didn't go to bat for you because I should have.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't realize the waves that my voice could make if I used it appropriately. And for me, that situation was so devastating that whole year and shaped so much of me. And in some ways,
Well,
unshaped
look
parts
what you
of
did
me.
when that happened to your kid. You advocated for ultimately the
Yeah.
entire county.
Yeah, I'm kind of over it. I feel like I've seen it so much recently, and these kids just get dinged and dinged, and it's always the kids that need the extra time. They
Yeah.
need to be outside. I mean, our schools need double the amount of recess
Yeah.
they have to begin with.
Yeah.
So taking
Well,
away,
I mean,
Well,
you
the
guys,
physical activity even
Yeah.
helps stress.
yeah,
you guys know how passionate I am about
Yeah.
like outside time and like nature
Mhm.
time. It's
Yeah.
like even if and when Loxley goes to school, I mean she will go to school, not if.
but you mean
um,
like public school?
Yeah, public school, private school, homeschool, whatever. I'm a huge advocate for like learning outside. I know
Mhm.
like growing up, we used to like sometimes take the classroom outside, and
Yeah.
it's like so big for kids to
Yeah.
get.
You're
some of
gonna
that
start a
grounding.
whole school, aren't you?
Man, I don't know.
I know.
Maybe
It's
we're
so
already talking
frustrating.
Just
about it.
knowing you,
Yep.
you're like,
Maybe
here's
we're
what
already-
needs to exist, and all of a sudden, Kayla's
Yep.
gonna have.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a huge compliment, by the way.
yeah.
I totally think that. You know, I will say though, like to a teacher's credit, we're sitting here like we all can single-handedly think of like one or two teachers that negatively impacted
Mhm.
us as 30, 40 years later, right?
Yep.
We're sitting here with this trauma from teachers
Yeah.
from, grade school.
Yep.
And what's nuts, it's like how many great teachers did we have compared to the one or two bad apples?
I had two amazing ones, Elaine Smith and Nancy Waite. They're my Facebook friends, and I deal with them all the time because I
Yeah.
love them. They impacted my life in a great way. So those people matter, and those teachers that have a positive impact on your life are going to forever leave an imprint.
Yeah, but like you don't forget that. So
Mm-mm.
I feel like if you're a teacher, if you feel like you're in the trenches and you're just kind of gone through the motions and
Yeah.
you're frustrated with the regulations and you're frustrated with this, like just know that however you are teaching right now, a child will never forget you.
Mhm.
You will either have a great memory with them or a bad one. There's like, and that's it.
You will either be like,
Awesome
like I was
or
like
Ursula.
tap dancing with my second grade teacher, and then you had the one who,
amazing.
Yeah, you're either Ariel or Ursula.
Ariel
That's
or
just
Ursula.
we're just
Exactly.
like they. Here we go.
It's never gonna stop. I love
But
it.
it's true. Teachers have a huge impact. And it's almost
Yep.
like with parenting, how there are going to be memories that our kids have of ways that we screwed them up.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like our life as parents where there's these moments and
Mhm.
hopefully the really good ones outweigh
Yep.
the times
Oh,
we
yeah.
were not at our best. And it's like that, except you've got this whole string of different teachers and professors over the course of your education.
Yep.
I
that are
had
affecting
this.
you.
Okay, so I had a band instructor, and he was actually one of my favorite teachers. But I guarantee there are students that say he was borderline verbally abusive. He would be like, "You lopsided peach liquor fart! Like he would
Wow.
like. I'm not even kidding you. If someone went to Parkway,
Peach liquor fart.
I'm
A
not
peach-
even
a peach is a butt.
It's like the most
Emoji
random thing.
peaches
He
are
would
butts.
he would say the most. You play that note. You go on 4. You go on like he was aggressive. But we learned like he's one of my favorite teachers I've ever had, and it never really scared me.
Mhm.
And he would spit when he would yell, and he would get so mad he'd throw his stick
Throw his
and
little-
yeah.
You
Yep.
just made me remember something.
Yeah.
And
Finish your. Don't worry. Ugh, crazy.
But what's crazy, it's like he believed in everybody that how mad he got was the best thing. I mean, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
even kidding you. If you went to Parkway and you just heard what I said, please comment and name that you remember Mr. Sherrick saying, because he's still one of my favorite teachers ever. And I just know that as an adult, I'm he got so mad because he had this level of excellence.
Yep.
And you were not to below, or you were not to perform beneath that.
Mhm.
And he used to say, to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is just unacceptable. And I will
5
never,
minutes late per kid. That's
I
my.
will
Oh,
never.
God. That makes so much sense now, knowing you.
does.
That does.
That's hilarious.
I will never forget that. Is there one teacher I know you just said yours.
Mhm.
So Corey, who is a teacher who you just feel changed your life and set you up for success?
Oh, I've had so many amazing ones.
Yeah.
My second grade teacher, Miss Goldman, who became Miss Goldberg. She was to this day, I just think of
that might be the most
I know, isn't that
amazing.
hilarious?
Yeah.
Goldman to Goldberg.
Yeah.
I love it.
And she
Yeah, it's
honestly was just such a positive reinforcement when I was a really little kid. And that year
Yeah.
in second grade, I had to wear a knee brace for part of the time. And I just remember feeling so encouraged, and I felt capable, and I felt smart, and I felt happy. And I feel like
Yeah.
having those experiences where a teacher just sort of embraces who you are
Mhm.
and lets you be that. I
Yep.
think it's so important with little kids. Like Radley's had these teachers who are kind of maternal. Like his kindergarten teacher was very
Mm.
maternal.
Aw.
And now he has this teacher who's she's younger, and he just adores her. I just have the best teacher, you know?
Yep.
And all
Aw.
of his little quirks, his teachers have just understood him and taken the time to get to know him. And that's what I think is really cool when you have a teacher who really wants to understand their students, and you have parents who really want to reinforce
Yeah.
whatever a teacher is seeing at school at home. So
Yeah.
we always ask our teachers, even with Teddy, if you're seeing any behaviors or
Yeah.
emotional sensitivities, let us know what you see so that we can kind of be helpers at
Yeah.
home, and because you
Yeah.
don't always see that.
Right.
And sometimes I can be even too harsh on my kids. Rad's
me
very
too.
sensitive and be come on, you need to be tougher. And I also sometimes need to appreciate that he's just a very sensitive kid, and let him feel his feels a little bit more.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm guilty of being too tough on him. But I think if there is an openness on the side of the teacher and an openness on the side of a parent, that it creates a really great situation where you do have kids who learn great social relationships. They learn empathy. They learn how to communicate with the people around them, how to be a good
Yeah.
friend,
Mhm.
how to live in the world. I mean, you have all these differing personalities within the classroom,
Mhm.
and you have to work together a lot. And I just feel like there is so much great education, not just academically, but socially, to be had when you do have those teachers who really see kids.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't want to get back on this topic, but I think that's such a big part of what we need to make sure we're doing for kids, especially in this world of social media and so much negativity.
We see
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And we see them. And
Yeah.
that is all I ask of the teachers.
Yep.
You can be hard on them where you need to, and you can please be open with us about everything we
Yep.
need to
Yeah.
work on. But I want you to see them. And if you have a class of 18 kids or 25 kids, I know that can be difficult.
Yeah.
And especially
But
when
after
we're
a year,
homeschooling.
you know those
do.
kids, and you know
You
their
do.
hearts, and you know their
Yeah.
intentions.
You're
And
with
if
them
you
day in,
don't,
day
then there's
out.
a problem at that point.
Yeah, you're with them day in,
Yep.
day out. We have told our teachers, hey, if our kids need to see the counselor and just talk about things or be in certain
Yep.
groups, I mean, we really encourage that, because school is the place where, starting from a very young age,
Yes.
you were learning to cope.
Yep.
You were learning to deal with transitions as you're
Yeah.
going
Mhm.
from different classes and different activities
You're
and
learning
different teachers.
life's not fair.
Yep.
Sometimes it is fair.
You're learning to
All
navigate
of
friend
those
groups,
things.
different kinds of personalities.
Failure,
kindness, all of
rejection,
it.
winning.
In
Like,
fact, I would love for counseling and learning, learning empathy and learning social interaction and coping with stress.
Mhm.
It's where I think the physical activity is actually so important for
It's really
kids.
important.
yeah.
I would love to be that in curriculum
Yeah.
from about third grade,
Yeah.
where kids actually have like once a month, even they talk to a counselor.
Well,
You know,
you know that
and
the
they
whole
have a
new Tennessee
class.
bill, that was
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
Governor Lee's thing, and
Yeah.
it's a big deal. Is
Our kids
added
just
professionals
need-
in that
They just need like that.
space.
That
Jen, do you feel
Well-
better getting it off your
Well,
chest?
yeah,
about
and
today?
I'll also say, like, I felt so good coming into the county we're in because I mean my kids have been in school in public schools in 1, 2, 3. This is their fourth district and their third state, right? So I was really happy because if the administration is great, you can deal with anything, and that's how our schools are. They're great, and I was also just really, I think, emboldened because this is the first county we've been in, at least at this point in time, where the sixth graders in middle school have recess, and I don't know if it's once a week, but it's something. I mean, they have like outdoor time, like where they're just allowed to just be outside. And it's so important that
My
I don't
nephew-
understand.
Yeah, my nephew, he started doing a running club
Oh,
thing
yeah.
before school. And it was amazing for
Yeah.
him because he was getting this, kids are so pent up. They have so much
Mhm.
energy and that physical aspect of things. I'll sign up for Kayla's outdoor school. I'm
Yeah.
ready. Go ahead.
And our kids typically in fall and spring, our kids bike to school, to and from school. So we try to get them outside as much as possible. It just
Yeah.
irritates me when it's like, hey, your kid is having trouble focusing, so he's going to miss recess today. That makes sense. What kind of punishment do they use at Montessori?
Montessori is like, it's basically like timeouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very gentle with the
Yeah.
kids. And I honestly, like, I love the teachers there so much. I mean, they really appreciate that kids are kids
Mhm.
and that they do have big feelings and that sometimes they overreact. And so they're really big on, teaching them to be kind, teaching them ways to manage their big feelings when they happen. And so, with Bash, when he was 3, particularly, like he would just go through, these phases where he wasn't using his words, he's melting down. And so his teachers there are like, okay, let's find our words.
Yep.
Rad went through a big phase of not listening. He wasn't misbehaving. He was just la la la, like not listening. So it was really focusing him on, okay, let's direct our attention.
Yep.
Let's listen the first time that we're asked to do
Yep.
That's
something.
the hardest thing for me. I'm just starting to go through that with Loxley.
Mhm.
That it's not that she's like being mean or bad, but like I'll ask her to do something and like
She's just,
she'll
like,
just
in her
be
own world.
like she'll be in her own world. And it's hard because you don't want to yell at your kid or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
get angry, like or frustrated or punish them when
Yeah.
they're just kind of like
Right.
look
Yep.
at my armpit, like, hey, what'd you
Yep.
say? Like it's so hard. So I love that, like, I don't know, if they're in school, they're not just like, you're gonna get a timeout.
it's
like,
so, I mean,
and it's
That is
more
nice.
so like,
I don't
hey,
even know if
let's
it's like
redirect.
I remember Rad kind of getting like he had to sit in a certain area sometimes, but I've truly never even heard of Bash having to do that. It's
Do
always
they have
even
like clip charts or anything where
Well,
it's
they
like you're
send-
on green or you're on, like, do they do any of that where it's like
I
your
don't
behavior's
know.
good, yours is questionable right now?
don't
Like,
You're
do
in
that
red,
they-
like you need to stop.
Yep.
Like,
I don't know, honestly. I mean, they will definitely talk to us about things
Mm.
that happen, but even when there's incidents that they have to write up, typically it's like, like I just love the teachers. They'll always go like, there have been times when they're like, okay, so this happened, but like also that kid tends to
Push a little bit.
yeah,
Yep.
and so this
Yeah.
happened. So we didn't have to talk to Bash about it, but here's the setup, and they're very
Mhm.
good
Yeah.
about making sure that kids are not just punished.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's good because what frustrates me is I made a point to go in and sit down with both of Charlie's teachers
Yeah.
and say, here's how you can reach him. He is the kid who
Mhm.
you're going to have to touch him.
Mhm.
Like when you're walking by his desk, if he's not answering you, you're gonna have to touch him on the shoulder.
get that.
Like you're going to have to find ways to redirect him. And I told them, I was like, we have been very concerned that he has ADHD, and we're gonna get into this in a future episode,
Yeah.
I know, but like he does in fact have severe ADHD, and we just found that out last week. So learning to cope with that has been new for me too, because
Yeah.
I have been so overwhelmingly frustrated with him. And it doesn't help because he can't make those connections in his head.
Yeah.
So I think if I hadn't taken the time to go in and say, listen, I know this is going to be frustrating for you. This is how we reach him at home. And this is like
Yeah.
what
You were giving them some tools.
I've given them a lot of tools.
Well, and that's the thing is that teachers have it so much on their plates.
Yes,
we
they
obviously
do.
can't expect them to also be
Yeah.
therapists.
No.
Right.
But what we can do is do
Yep.
our part as parents to inform them as well as we possibly can. In fact, when we do our teacher conferences at the Montessori school and even the conferences at the public school, we usually do talk about that. Like, what do you guys do at home? I've talked to Rad's teacher.
Yeah.
Usually 3 deep breaths does a world of good for him.
Yeah.
And so she was saying, oh yeah, the breathing seems to work really well for him. So that's again where I think you are doing what a parent should do. And if you've done your piece, you're much more entitled to be frustrated when a teacher is not taking the tools you've given them and using them. Even
Well-
though it's like it's still hard, I guess.
And
but
then how does it differ? How does it differ with Rad at public school? Like, because you guys are in another county than we are.
Mhm,
So what is the sort of like? Because I know every teacher in our county has their own thing, and usually at orientation, parent night, whatever, meet the teacher day,
Mhm.
they'll go over this is how I do behavior modification. Is there like a way that you've heard that their teachers kind of
I should probably know that, and I have no idea.
yeah.
But Rad is such a goody two shoes. I'll
Mhm.
probably learn more as I have more kids come up through the school system. I mean, Rad's come home, like I said, very upset that,
Yeah.
that the whole class got punished. And usually it's just that like something's taken away. They're
Mhm.
not allowed to whatever. But we haven't ever had to deal with the detention. Now we do know there's a kid in the same grade that was suspended. Like we've heard
Yeah.
about that happening with other kids who have gotten in bigger trouble. But I don't think we ever really went over that.
Yeah.
Like we could obviously talk to her about that. I'm sure the school has certain. There's
Yeah.
there's probably a handbook I have read a long time ago, and it just
You're like, I don't know.
like I
Doesn't
read all the
matter.
materials.
That's how
but it
I
just
felt about
hasn't
my first
been-
two. Like I wanted to know what they were
Yeah.
because the positive behavior reinforcement really works to me. The
Yeah.
embarrassment of like, you belong on red. The public sort of, I mean, whatever, to each their own in that regard. But
Uh-huh.
I've never loved that. I can always usually tell if I'm going to click with a teacher by like how they,
Mostly what I've seen is a reward
Mhm.
system for doing extra help. They have these like certain little tickets that
Yep.
they give out to kids who have gone above and beyond in terms of being helpful, being
Mhm.
respectful, being good listeners. So what I've seen,
Yeah.
at least with Rad being my only in public school, is more about reinforcing positive behavior
Mhm.
than punishing bad behavior.
Well, that's interesting because in Charlie's class, when they get into fifth grade, and they may do it in fourth grade too, I can't remember because my years sort of blend together, but they do this thing called scholar dollars,
Mhm.
and they do it as a grade. And basically, they're given money, right, for certain behaviors, doing certain things, completing things on time, and they're
Yeah.
debited for things that are not completed or behaviors, talking, having to repeatedly go to their, whatever it is. And I actually use that with my kids. My kids all have checking accounts. They all have check
Mhm.
cards, and I have absolute control over their checking accounts. And if I say to them, you are going to get 3 warnings to bring that trash can down from upstairs. If I get to a third time and Mason or Charlie has not brought that down, I'll be like, I'm debiting your account $2.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I have yet to actually ever take it out because usually they're like, I'm on it right now, I'm on
because
it.
it's so
I'm
effective.
on it.
I
Money-
do that.
money
This
matters.
is completely different, but I get a trash bag
Mhm.
upstairs, and when it's like time to clean like Loxley's toys, like I'll be like, all right, we're gonna set a timer. Whatever you don't have put away, it's gonna go in the trash bag.
Ty does that.
And
Evie goes, I
But-
don't care.
yeah,
That's Bash.
but but what she doesn't know, so there's been a couple times that it's broke my heart because I literally like threw it in the trash bag. I put it back
Right.
after like.
But it's the
But
lesson.
it's the lesson, and it's really hard because one time she thought I threw away her most like one of her like favorite stuffies. I'm like, I told you to put it away, and she like there was like, and I felt awful, and so the next morning when she was like, "Yay, it's not in the trash," and I was like, "Well, honey, like mommy got it out of the trash for you, but like you have to learn to put her away, like." And that's
Yeah. It's
a good
so
lesson.
you're ready to like take over the school, like.
Do you know, I don't want to run for school board because there's some crazy people in our county, but I did get behind someone who ran for school board this past year, and he wasn't in my zone, but I campaigned for him hardcore, and he won. And he's a really good advocate, and he's going to continue to be. And that's the kind of thing I think is important, is like you can't just be someone that complains. We talked about this. You can't just be someone who complains online. You can't just be someone who gets into debates with people on Facebook unless you take action. And so it's a big thing for me, is enacting change. I don't know. If politics weren't so dirty, I'd love to hold office.
This is what I love. You're recognizing that there's a problem, and you're out there trying to find people to make it change.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
And this is a good reminder for me because I don't usually speak up unless it's something pretty extreme. And I think it's good for moms to have the reminder that you can speak up. And also the reminder.
And if you can't, call Jen. She'll speak up for you.
Yeah.
And she'll write the email. Anyways.
I was just also going to say that it's also important for all of us moms to remember that we have to be partners with the teacher.
Yeah. Yep. It's definitely a partnership.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. We're out.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys next week.
Okay, bye.
The Hi, My Name is Mom studio is brought to you by the Yard Sale Store. Check them out at yardsalestore.com and on socials at Yard Sale USA.